Welcome to another episode of What the Did I Just Read? Where I will read all the books with trigger warnings and some that don't have should probably have trigger warnings and give you a brief synopsis. Along with that brief synopsis is my thoughts on what I thought the author was trying to convey as a fellow author, along with several different types of ratings. Claws for the gore. We have chili peppers for the spicy, sexy scenes. We have a cringy face for the "Ooh." Those are the ones that usually come with the trigger warnings, and then an overall star review. Today, we are discussing Madhouse by Miguel Estrada. Now, I found this book on Stuff Your Kindle Day, right? So it was free at the time I got it, and I was like, ooh, this looks like fun. Why don't we go ahead and do this? And I read it, and I literally read it in about 4 hours, and it's an incredibly short read. Or I just don't have a life and stood seated for 4 hours. Anywho, let's go into a quick bio on Miguel Estrada, and then we'll go into synopsis, and then we'll just jump right into the book. Okay. So Miguel Estrada grew up in Caracas, Venezuela, with a fascination for the mysterious and the occult, as he spent his childhood imagining exciting scenarios that now have translated into stories for him to share. I've noticed that a lot of these authors that like him, Ash Eric Moore, H.D. Carlton, there's a new one that I'm reading. Um, but they all have like this fascination with the macabre and the occult. And I think that's amazing because I too have a fascination with that shit. Though he has an inclination for horror, thriller, and suspense, he is no stranger to science fiction. His stories are full of colorful characters that always find themselves involved in murder, mystery, and blood. A lot of it. So, as I was going through his website here, there was the opportunity to get a free book, a novella. So I'm assuming that it's going to be a quick read, The Shifter. We'll see how that goes, and maybe we'll talk about that too. Let's get into the synopsis of what Madhouse is about. Don't talk to strangers. Faced with his parents' divorce, 11-year-old Lucas runs away from his house with the hope that his family will get back together to find him. On his way, walking through the empty streets, he is picked up by a mysterious woman who offers to take him and provide him with a loving family. The boy wakes up in shackles, confined to a bed in a decrepit house in the middle of nowhere, and will have to face his deepest fears in order to survive in his new home. Join Lucas in a desperate attempt to get back to his family in Madhouse. This is Miguel Estrada's first published book, and I thought it was very well written. My first published book, when I read it now, feels like I could have done better, right? But let's be honest, as you go along as an author, right, with all your different writings, and of course, I always say that reading is practice, you get better. But I feel like this man has this had this was born with this gift to write, born with this gift of words. It was just very well put together, albeit slow, um short. Again, I am the type of person that I do like a little bit longer books, but that doesn't I never refrain from reading short books. So Lucas is under the impression that because after this is his last summer in elementary school and he goes off to middle school the next year, that he has to keep playing games and get as much of his childhood in, because to him middle school is the end of his childhood, right? So he comes home from school one day, he plays hide and seek with his father, and he scares him, right? And boom, they drop the bomb. Here goes the first bomb of Lucas's life. They're getting a divorce. They did a very good job it's not your fault, Lucas. This is something between your father and I. I enjoyed the way that was displayed. But fast forward, Lucas runs away. How many times have you thought about running away as a kid? I feel like I may have attempted it once, but then I got hungry. So, but it was the 90s. So, like, my mom never really knew that I ran away, but I ran away and then I was hungry. So, I went back. Um, and right from the get-go, this lady that picks him up, and of course I try not to give too many details. She is creepy as hell. Creepy as hell. And when he wakes up in this house, like it says in the synopsis, and he is in shackles, he convinces this other person, this man, to let him go and let him roam free in the house. And this is a very resourceful, smart young man, and how he, just gives them really a run for their money, and they find it hard keeping him pinned down. But I will say that there are scenes where this poor boy is getting abused. He is physically, and there's just moments in the book where you're just so grossed out by this man. He's, described as being dirty and just nasty. This book, well, first of all, the ending, you got to read it all the way to the end. All the way to the end. And the ending leaves you like, what the like, really? There's just like this little nugget of information that brought everything together. I think this book is a very good cautionary tale about for kids, if they run away from home. Not that I would tell any kid this story, but it could be a good cautionary tale. Very much like when I was growing up, they told me that Cuco in Puerto Rico Cuco is the boogeyman, would come get me if I didn't go to sleep. And that was my great aunt Tata. And probably because, my mom was sick. I missed my mom. I wanted to be there with her. So, I was staying with Tata. I wasn't in my own home. So I wasn't sleeping. Right. So apparently, a cuckoo was going to come get me. And that's always like a cautionary tale. So what if this Venezuelan man wrote this as a cautionary tale for kids that think they're smarter than their parents and they run away? Right? He thought that Lucas, the boy, the 11-year-old boy, thought that he was going to run away, and it was going to make his parents realize that they should be together for him, that they loved each other and they had to be together. I do have one of just a quote. It says, Lucas always knew the best places to hide, but also because he changed his spots frequently. However, those days were gradually falling behind, especially now that he was in his last days of primary school. By the end of the summer, he would start middle school, so he had to take advantage of what little childhood he had left. So that was done in the beginning of the book. So right off the bat, you notice that Lucas has a different thought process than a lot of kids, because I know when I was transitioning from elementary school to middle school, that's not what I thought. I remember that clearly. And I think this character was given a certain level of maturity, so that it can justify everything that he did and said while he was in that house. The gore was mostly just, it was okay. It was fine. I just thought that the storytelling was just, it was stellar. It was, you met this kid, you're like, oh my God, he's so grown up. And then you're just like, what the are you doing running away? Right? Dummy, getting into that woman's car. So let's get into the rating, right? I'm just going to give it 2 2 claws for gore, just because there's not like too much blood. I didn't personally myself, it didn't like catch me with the gore. There's no spice in this, so we won't be berating that, but I am going to give it 3 cringy men, because even for me it was hard to hear the physical abuse that Lucas went through. And I am going to go ahead and I'm going to give it 4 stars. And I'm going to give it 4 stars because I kind of wished there was just a little bit more that Estrada did with that little nugget he threw at the end. Though, as a fellow author, I understand why he saved it and just kept it as a little tiny nugget, because now here I am asking for more of that little tiny nugget, right? Anyway, thank you for joining me on today's very short session of What the Did I Just Read? And always remember, take a little time to enjoy the macabre.